sacred principle that though the will of the majority is in all cases to prevail, that will to be rightful must be reasonable.
Indulging no passions which trespass on the rights or the repose of other nations, it has been the true glory of the United States to cultivate peace by observing justice and to entitle themselves to the respect of the nations at war by fulfilling their neutral obligations with the most scrupulous impartiality.
And has a right to prevent their execution in the port of Charleston, there would be a clear constitutional objection to their collection in every other port, and no revenue could be collected anywhere.
The last, perhaps the greatest, of the prominent sources of discord and disaster supposed to lurk in our political condition was the institution of domestic slavery.
The great danger to our institutions does not appear to me to be in a usurpation by the government of power not granted by the people, but by the accumulation in one of the departments of that which was assigned to others.
I regard the question of annexation as belonging exclusively to the United States and Texas. Foreign powers do not seem to appreciate the true character of our government. Our union is a confederation of independent states whose policy is peace with each other and all of the world. As American freemen, we do not but sympathize in all efforts to extend the blessings of civil and political liberty. But at the same time, we are warned by the admonitions of history and the voice of our own beloved Washington to abstain from entangling alliances with foreign nations. In all
as it exists in different states of this Confederacy is recognized by the Constitution. I believe that it stands like any other admitted right, and that the states where it exists are as it exists in different states.
Hi folks, President James Buchanan here. That's right, 15th President of the United States and the consensus pick as the nation's very worst, at least for the time being. So I just wanted to stop by and thank the producers of the film Raising Buchanan for including me in their wonderful project.
Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. Yet, if God wills that it continue until all the wealth piled by the bondsman's 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword. As was said 3,000 years ago, so still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether.
Show the stuck-up aristocrats who is running the country. A cheap, purse-proud set they are, not half as good as the man who earns his bread by the sweat of his brow.
The country, having just emerged from a great rebellion, many questions will come before it for settlement in the next 4 years, which preceding administrations have never had to deal with.
The permanent pacification of the country upon such principles and by such measures as will secure the complete protection of all its citizens in the free enjoyment of all their constitutional rights is now the one subject in our public affairs which all thoughtful and patriotic citizens regard as of supreme importance.
The elevation of the Negro race from slavery to the full rights of citizenship is the most important political change we have known since the adoption of the Constitution of 1787.
Of the United States, I was president of the first Pan-American Congress. My friends, we shall declare that the legislative and legislative reforms will move on every question.
My fellow citizens, recent events have imposed upon the patriotic people of this country
The big bosses of the political field, the beneficiaries of privilege in the field of industry, the men who...
I am willing to admit that war has accomplished much in the progress of the world. I am willing to admit that there are certain crises.
There never was a time when impatience and suspicion were more keenly aroused by private power selfishly employed. When jealousy of everything concealed or touched with
My countrymen, first flaming torch of Americanism, lighted in framing the federal Constitution in
the sale of his produce, no matter how low the price, to pay his taxes. The manufacturer, the professional man. Thus an opportunity and the spiritual future.
Today, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
City, whose industries feed the Japanese war machine. If the Japanese insist on continuing resistance beyond the point of reason, their country will suffer the same destruction as Germany. Our blows will destroy their whole modern industrial plant and organization.
I do not know whether the rest of you in this audience have been able to make that same tour. But it is like nothing else so much, in my mind, as the Red R room in a big battleship or some other complex thing that really is entirely beyond my comprehension.
Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
All Americans must have the privileges of citizenship, regardless of race. And they are going to have those privileges of citizenship, regardless of race.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president at that hour in this office.
No Soviet domination of Eastern Europe, and there never will be under a Ford administration.
I have to interrupt right here and tell you that in one of my visits, I won't name him, I don't want to embarrass him, but one of the heads of state that I met with on this visit, he gave me one while I was on the way. He told me the story about the two fellows in the Soviet Union that were walking down the street, and the one of them says, "Have we really achieved full communism? Is this it? Is this now full communism?" And the other one said, "Oh, hell no, things are going to get a lot worse."
Raise taxes and I'll say no, and they'll push and I'll say no, and they'll push again and I'll say to them, read my lips.
To the American people, I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you.
The world. The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again.
Sometime with President Zelensky of Ukraine, I told him, as I have each and every time we've spoken, the United States stands with the people of Ukraine and as they bravely fight to defend their country, and they are doing that. And as Putin continues his merciless assault, the United States and our allies and partners continue to work in lockstep to ramp up the economic pressures on Putin and to further isolate Russia on the global stage. Later today, together with other NATO allies in the G7, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, as well as the European Union, we're going to jointly announce several new steps to squeeze Putin and hold him even more accountable for his aggression against Ukraine.